Hello everyone, you're on the Elton Voice channel. In this video I would like to show you what is inside one of my projects, what the mix consists of, what tools I use and how it all works all in all. I know this will be of interest to fewer people than is usually the case, but also I know that there are people who ask me to do it. Before joining, a small disclaimer. I am from Ukraine and English is not my native language, and I know that my pronunciation and accent can hurt your ears, so I apologize in advance. Try to make watching the video as comfortable as possible. And so, my Starset style remix of Noir, this is what the complex mixed mix looks like. No final mastering. Let's include some parts of it. Right away, what I want to start with is original isolated stems. There are 4 of them. Nothing special here, interesting. This is the original percussion, bass, basic melodic instruments and vocals. In terms of any processing, I did not do anything interesting with them. I shared tracks with bass and drums tracks for 2 each, for those moments when they play separately and in the whole mix, to get rid of the subcomponent. That is, in the intro, on the verse, they play like in the original. On all guitar moments, they play without a sub. I cut it through Pro Q Fab filter. What else? With the original scenes, there is nothing to process at all, except that I did some manipulation in the intro to diversity it all a little. It's the same with vocals. I tried to do something with it, raise the treble and little more compress, but I was quite satisfied with the way it was originally in the mix. So I just removed unnecessary low frequencies.
It was like a flashing dream behind your scenes.
And here we are, already moving on to the most interesting, guitars. Here we have a virtual instrument from Solemn Tones called Odin 2. Why don't I record the guitar live? Because I do remixes, often not at home and not at the studio. And there is no way to quickly take a guitar and record anything that I need. But no one forbids this to you. For such remixes, it is quite enough for me to use emulations to get the right result. I tried a bunch of emulations where there were both ample sound 3-H, heavier 7-string, but I stopped on Odin because it has the best and simplest character for heavier and faster, gent if more convenient styles. I will not dwell on it in details, disassemble and pick it from the inside. If some of the tools or plugins are of interest, I can tell you in separate video, just let me know. After the guitars on the clean signal, I literally added a little lower middle because it seemed to me that guitars lack it. And then comes the amplifier. Archetype Nolly by Neural DSP, third amplifier AK5950, third cabinet. I choose any of my presets, I started to turn the amplifier and came to the sound I needed. Almost all knobs at 20 o'clock with small errors. The native amplification was enough for me, so I did not use the pedals. There is also nothing supernatural on the equalizer panel. Maximum gain and reducing something comes down to 1 decibel, a maximum of -2 and 4 at the lowest. There are no sophisticated games with the cabinet either. 57 Shure and 421 Sennheiser. After I have another guitars that repeat the same part, but here I cut after the guitars I have a pitch shifter that lowers the guitars an octave down. Tuning from into sound from hell while he turning on the amplifier. Here is the same neural DSP but the completely different settings. Here we will already connect the classic tube screamer, which will give us some gain and character, an amplifier in which almost everything is turned to the maximum. Yes, do not be surprised. It looks scary, and if there was a real hardworking guitarist, he will give me a head with a chair. Okay, our task is to make sound maximally oversaturated. That the equalizer panel is empty. We have one 421 on the cabinet microphone. Next we need shenanigans with an amp equalizer where we will turn up some mids, continue to decibels while cutting off the entire bottom. Next comes to virtual mix rack, which continues kill those guitars, slightly overdriving them with channel preamp emulation by adding more frequencies, especially high and medium, and lower the output a bit. And further thanks Saturn, we will add more harmonics to get something like that. Now I will try to clearly show why I did it. Hear how the overdriving sound of the guitars become denser, fatter. We do not hear the main opposite the nature of these slow guitars, but we only hear that our mains ones are getting bigger and meaner. For the most part, this trick is not necessary, but I use it almost always because guitars get a little bigger, especially when we work with virtual guitars. Also, both of these guitars lie on a common bus, which puts them a little better in the mix. We a little compressed to get more attack on riff moments. Multiband compression to control palm mutes. Stereo expansion and of high and medium frequencies. Literally a little up to 30%, I will already give a good result if the width of the guitars is not enough. Final pass where we cut unnecessary sub-low and high frequencies in which there is no necessary guitar information and which will interfere with other instrument. And Sooth 2, who will do all the works for us and will cut out all conflicting, not pleasant frequencies. Bass. Often I don't use easy bass simulation like I did there. I prefer instruments from Submission Audio like Gene Bass, but there for some reason I wanted to try exactly the option from Toontrack. This is their metal library where I choose a clean, unprocessed preset guitar player libraries by Mediator. After I processed the whole parallax thing from all those or neural DSP, which perfectly emulate bass reamping. Here I have done nothing more than just choose a preset I liked, unless I screwed up low frequencies compression to the maximum and removed the middle ones a little. That's how it sounds with guitars. Drums. Here I have again used Mixwave Drums, a Gojira library which firstly sound perfect to me. Secondly, they have great built-in mixing tools to do everything quickly and not to worry. The only thing I did not take from this it's the cymbals. All cymbals come from another library. I didn't turn almost anything on the microphones, nowhere but snare. Here I literally turn up the top mic a bit and turn up the level in the overhead mic and room mic. The main processing lies on the master bus. Parallel compression, small boosts of certain frequencies and some saturation. All the cymbals goes straight from Superior Drummer Free progressive library. Here's a fully prepared preset which can also be used as the main drums, but I look only cymbals from here. All processing also lies inside. This is EQ on hi-hat, EQ and compression on overhead, on room channel, also some work with parallel channel and master bus processing cymbals. Both of these channels go to one common one, which processed by the clipper from GST, which limits our drums and glues cymbals a bit with our main kicks, snares and toms. Yes, I know it looks weird in general, and things like general compression, overhead and rooms channel should be processed together, a common drum kit. But to whom interesting? We are not talking about the right things here. It sounds like what I needed, but how way to this came, it is no longer interesting, really. This is how our pure guitars track sound without some synths and some orchestra. What about synths, orchestra and the rest? What does it sound like and what does it consist of? Almost all the synths in this work are Dune 3. The perfect sample I use is which has almost everything I need. First synth, this is number 1 preset, a lead synth in this track, which that's almost the main character. I love it and use it is very often, because even a small amount it gives a lot, which may not be enough sonic in terms of frequency. The second synth is the bass, so slightly angry, sharp, but is also complements the track. A small pluck which can only be heard if you listen it hard, but its task consists purely in atmospheric feeling. Another pluck, but more explicit, he's already playing this main note that goes in the original, and I wanted to highlight it. He also plays a lot on the bridge of the track. Small sequence, a little danceable, it also serves only for feeling, diluting some moments. And strings. There is Sonus Core library, the only orchestra library I have. I won't say that I'm completely satisfied with it. There are libraries many times better, but this track that I bet she's still doing it. Here is the same role that Plaque has about this original, the main note, and the violin also emphasizes it here and also enters with a large part on the horse. And one more strings, a ready-made mini orchestra that plays 8 notes, which also complements the track. This is how it all sounds. mastering. I do it separately when I completely done with the mix, when I like everything. I know that many people do this in the same project as the overall mix, but I find it much more convenient to do it separately. If I hear that I do not like something, then I return to the mix, correct this moment, if it can be done in the mix, and again I go to mastering. In my master project there is always a reference. Obviously, if we are talking about Starset, then this is some of the more appropriate tracks from the latest album. Here I took Devolution. He told me I like it and I really own it. What I'm doing. I take an analyzer, in my case it is Insight Pro by Isotope. I look at the volume of the track, at loops, in order to achieve maximum result, and later I will analyze the frequency composition. But for now, back to our track. Everything is in order. Virtual mix track which we meet today. Two panels of equalizers. At the first I slightly raise it 5 and 5, 1 and 2 and 100 Hz, all within 1 and 2 decibels, more for character than emphasizes curtain frequencies. I also turn on driver emulation and raise it the line up at 11 decibels to also add a little color. Such modest trifles will not do clearly audible this stage, but in the end they add a little harmonies to the sound, little colors, which make the mix more alive. Next is another equalizer that works purely at highest frequencies, adding to 12 kHz. And the trimmer to reduce the signal level. The indicator shows the approach our signal to 0, no more, no less. So we can control our processing is much better. Next in the chain we have a compressor. It's up to you what you want to indulge in. My regular is Slate Digital's FG Gray, who all we do is crash our snare, so that is fits into the mix even better. That is, our response threshold is adjusted as follows, so that the indicator works on the snare's blow, lowering it by 2 or 3 decibels. Perfect. A virtual tape machine. Here everything is also up to your taste, but I always keep tracks through emulation tape recorder. These are still small paints that refresh any mix. Stereo expander. It's necessary, is not actual. You can add, you can remove. If your mix turned out to be too narrow, then I will say right away, with this plugin you will unlikely to save. Go back to the whole mix and solve the problem. But if we say about a little embellishment that I did on the high middle, then why not? It is much more important to bring the entire signal that goes below 18 Hz to mono as such as possible. So your sub information will be transparent, clean on any speaker, on any device. Well, here to pampering. I like to add a bit of sub punch after I center it. All this can be done in a mix, but if, like me, you need to do everything quickly with maximum quality ratio, this is your lifesaver. Sooth, with which we already familiar. It will also help us get rid of small conflicts which you may not hear without enough experience, but do it very moderately, because this thing can both help your mix and kill the life in it. Golfos, another AI stray that helps handless people like me. This plugin has prepared frequency spectra which are best perceived by the human ear, and adjust your mix to suit them. It is also not necessary to set all knobs to 100. From this, it is unlikely something good will come out, but in moderation, why not? It analyzes the frequency spectrum of the track we need. In our case, it is devolution. Analyze our track and adjusts it in terms of frequencies to the reference. Here we have a spectrum devolution. Here's our, and we tweaking it. In small amounts, this can definitely help, especially when we want to get things done certain song. Ozone 9, in which we also took devolution as a reference. It's more of non-working character sound, but some kind of dynamic analysis. Minimal work with timbre, work with bass dynamic. It's also very small in a dynamic equalizer, which also help very neatly us to balance the punch, remove a little rumble and unnecessary transients at high frequencies. Next we move on to the main volume of the track, and here I use two different limiters. First, flatline. We need to turn up the volume as much as possible until we can hear punching of our transient. That is kick and snare, but only them, no more. What will they hear? There is delta function here. And then I'm already moving to the main limiter. This is where we can go back to see how they work with Starset volume. We see their loops moving toward -5 and 7, 8 on the loudest moments with vocals. Therefore, we will build on this. And like we hear, plus 4.3 decibels is enough for us here. Well, that's all. This is the whole process of mixing and mastering the track, which goes through my work for the Alternate channel. Of course, somewhere instrument synths parts may differ depending on from the track, but the principle is the same everywhere. In often nothing needs to be changed. Everything depends if you are interested in hearing about a specific plugin or something separate, then let me know about it. And if I see that you were suddenly interested in watching this kind of video, then I will continue this rubric. Well, that's all for me. I'll be grateful if you subscribe to the channel, and even more grateful if you come to my Patreon where such the video this before. Thank you all very much for your support. Goodbye.
Wouldn't know.